Again, today's top stories. London has endured another night of German bombing. Most damage was concentrated in the East End. The RAF has struck enemy aerodromes in Le Havre and the Low Countries. In Russia, further German losses are reported around Leningrad. In Asia, the American fortress at Corregidor is still defiant, but Japanese forces are reported nearing the Burmese oil fields. And that concludes the news summary. We now return you to our music program. Again, today's top stories. London has endured another night of German bombing. Most damage was concentrated in the East End. The RAF has struck enemy aerodromes in Le Havre and the Low Countries. In Russia, further German losses are reported around
the past, forever locked in regret. But what if the past could be changed? "30 years have come and gone since the night that saw the end of the world, my world. The service needed someone on the Titanic. They chose me. I was to wait for a signal from my contact, so I remained in my cabin. I left only once. Georgia was on board. And that's when it came. There'd be no second chance. It was Sunday, April 14th. Too late, you see, for the Titanic, for me. What if I'd met with my contact, prevented disaster? What if the past could be changed? What then?
Good evening. I am Smethels, your steward, and, if I may say so, it is good to see you up and about. You've been in your cabin the whole voyage. A touch of the mal de mer, was it? Seasickness can be quite unpleasant, especially if it's one's first crossing. Since you haven't been out of your cabin, may I instruct you on how to get assistance while on board the Titanic? Very good. We of the White Star Line hope that your stay on board Titanic is as relaxing as possible. As you explore the ship, please bear in mind the following advice. The mouse is your hands. The keys, your feet. If you find the screen too dark or too bright, follow the directions on the control screen help panel or consult your manual on adjusting your monitor. To find the control panel help and other features, click on the life preserver at the bottom of the screen. The control panel has a help button, as well as a quit and save game feature. You may also adjust the volume. Test the settings by clicking on the black knob. You may also switch the theme music on or off. After making any adjustments, click OK to return to your current game. Wandering the ship, if you notice a hand, it indicates something to click on. May I suggest you do so? Several personal items in your room, a brown satchel, and a pocket watch are quite useful to you during your voyage. Take them with you. You shall want to converse with other passengers. If you fail to understand them, click on their face. They will repeat their last sentence. The purser. His office is on C deck, just off the forward grand stairs. The elevator, or lift as we call it, has an attendant who can direct you to various sections of the lifts are located behind the forward grand staircase. Lastly, you may always find me by returning to your cabin, C-73, and ringing the bell to the right of the door. Your correspondence. 2,200 on board, and they all want messages delivered promptly. Even if it is 1912, and the Titanic the most advanced. Here, a map of the ship for you. Compliments of the White Star Line. I have taken the liberty of indicating your cabin, C-73. Of course, on a Sunday evening at this hour, there won't be many people out. Will there be anything else? The electric camel, an exercise device. They say it is good for the liver. I wouldn't know. It's located in the gymnasium, on the boat deck, on the starboard side. That's the right side, in case you had not been informed. Very good. Have you unpacked? You'll find your trunk key in your bag on the bed. And remember your personal effects, your watch and bag. If you require additional assistance, please ring the bell by the door. Good night.
A fine night to be indoors, cold as the dickens outside. Cold but clear. Clear as a bell, and the stars, oh, you should see 1,000,000 stars in God's firmament. A congregation of light. The name's Trout. The Reverend Edgar. I'm returning from a mission in Africa, to Sunapee, New Hampshire, where I live. Emily, my wife, she's dead. Thank you. We had looked forward to this journey. But she died at Port Said, though it was Nyasaland that killed her. The doctors, you know, never did find all the parasites. We've just ended a hymn sing in the second-class lounge. It's the Titanic's first Sunday afloat. Well, good evening. Wait, before you leave, I was wondering, perhaps you'd care to make a donation to our mission in Nyasaland. Sorry to have bothered you. Perhaps another time. Good evening.
Yes? The lounge is closed for the night. We'd open it again only in an emergency, which we are not experiencing at the moment. Good night.
Hello. Don't think we've met. I'm Leyland Sekum Trask, metaphysical scribe and evangelist for the supernatural. I've been in London attending a conference on premonitions among the sensitive. You've heard of my institute, the Astral Bureau of Circulation, in Boston? The ABC is a place where mediums of impeccable character can commingle in harmony. This is a ship of destiny, which I think you know. Good night.
Good evening. Third Officer Morrow here. Sorry, the wireless room's off limits to passengers. No passengers allowed. You're the second passenger tonight who's been here. A young woman tried to enter the wireless room earlier. Such cheek. Probably a suffragette. Regulations forbid passengers from entering the wireless room. Now, good night.
Glory be. It's about time. You're late. Another 5 minutes and I'd have cancelled your mission. Yes, I'm Pringle. Penny Pringle. From the Bureau of Secrets. You didn't think they'd plunk you down on this bucket of bolts and millionaires alone, did you? What a botch-up. Some idiot in the War Office booked me into second, not first class, and I've had a fine time of it too. The crew wouldn't let me in the first cabin at all. It's just today I located you. Look at this. A German colonel named Zeitel. He's inspecting their embassies in Havana, Washington, and Mexico City. We know better. 10 days ago, the Bureau got word that Zeitel has in his possession a priceless copy of the Rubaiyat of Omar Khayyam, stolen 2 months ago in Paris after its purchase by a very highly placed member of His Majesty's government. It's your job to find out. His Lordship's watching this very closely indeed. I wouldn't fumble this chance either, unless you fancy spending the rest of your career in some grotty Midlands back office shuffling paper about. No, he's with a protégé, name of Heidelitz, I believe. The two spend a great deal of time in the Café Parisien, nibbling pastries. Get into the wireless room. I don't know or care how. Officer Morrow wouldn't let me in. See if Zeitel's received or sent any telegrams about the Rubaiyat. You've got a cryptograph in your trunk. It'll unscramble the German codes. You use the brains God gave you. Watch people. Listen when you find the Rubaiyat. Knock on my door. Cabin F, 34. Use the second-class stairs. You should be set. Remember, this is your big chance. Don't fail.
I say, what's your step?
Are you hurt, Henry?
No harm done. No harm.
I'm so sorry.
Tried on my toe.
We're the Ghost Joneses from Haltwhistle, you know. How are you finding the crossing? You're English, then? I would have thought American. Oh, my. I didn't mean to insult.
Can't hold a thought.
Dreadfully large place, America.
Brain like as if...
All that space and all those immigrants trying to fill it up. I was just commenting to Henry, on a White Star crossing one meets all the right people. While we were just chatting with a delightful elderly couple in the reception, the Strausses.
Own a small dry goods store in New York somewhere, called Macy's.
On D-Day.
Ribena, must you always finish my sentences? You're as jumpy as that American chap, that photographer.
Yes, he was just snapping away.
Taking pictures of some German colonel and that Englishman.
Snap, snap, snap.
War's coming all right, mark my words.
War? How beastly. Will Mr. Burns have to fight? He and his wife, such sweet things. But I do see her point. It is their honeymoon. Why he insists on snapping those photos, I haven't a clue.
For God's sake, woman, talk, like a madam in a Rangoon bawdy house.
Henry, that's unspeakable.
So don't speak then. Yaps louder than a scrum of rabid corgis. Now see here, this Burns chap.
If you want to see something interesting, take a look at his pictures. He's on C deck, cabin C, 78.
Evening, I'm the lift attendant. And you'll not find one better at taking you where you want to go. Where to? Suit yourself. Good night.
May I be of assistance? The purser. His office is on C deck, just off the forward grand stairs. The elevator, or lift as we call it, has an attendant who can direct you to various sections of the lifts are located behind the forward grand staircase. Good night.
Only I'm allowed to access the cargo manifest. What do you want? As purser, I arrange dinner reservations, rent deck chairs, the usual shipboard duties. Have you a name? If you do, I can tell you their cabin number. The Burnses? Cabin C78. Have you a name? If you do, I can tell you their cabin number. Mr. Astor, he's not to be disturbed. I live to serve. That's all then, is it? Good night. Yes, can I help you? Glad to be of good night.
May I be of assistance? The purser. His office is on C deck, just off the forward grand stairs. The elevator, or lift as we call it, has an attendant who can direct you to various sections of the lifts are located behind the forward grand staircase. Miss Pringle may have an idea. She is quite opinionated. Her room is F34, that's F deck, in the second class. Good night.
Hello, where to? I'm the man to ask. Go to the second class stairs in the back of the ship. Go to the very bottom. That'll be F. Follow the signs to the second class cabins. Where do you need to go? Mind the gate. It's a cold night, this. Pretty much everyone's early to bed. Makes me job that much easier. Your deck now.
Zeitel's telegrams. Get inside the wireless. Surely someone on board knows what he's up to. And don't forget the cryptograph in your trunk. It will unscramble the German codes. Most importantly, find the Rubaiyat. Meanwhile, I'll conduct my own investigation. Off with you now. Go! Try to intercept Zeitel's telegrams. Get inside the wireless. Surely someone on board knows what he's up to. And don't forget the cryptograph in your trunk. It will unscramble the German codes. Most importantly, find the Rubaiyat. Meanwhile, I'll conduct my own investigation. Off with you now. Go! Try to intercept Zeitel's telegrams. Get inside the wireless. Surely someone on board knows what he's up to. And don't forget the cryptograph in your trunk. It will unscramble the German codes. Most importantly, find the Rubaiyat. Meanwhile, I'll conduct my own investigation. Off with you now. Go! Try to intercept Zeitel's telegrams. Get in.
Majesty's government has assigned an agent of the Crown to rendezvous with you on board the Titanic. Remain in your cabin until your contact gives you further instructions. After completion of all your assignments on board, book passage to remain on the ship and return to Southampton for your next assignment. For a more in-depth report of the international situation in the spring of 1912, please review the white paper included as part of this briefing. That is all. His Majesty's government has assigned an agent of the Crown to rendezvous with you on board the Titanic. Remain in your cabin until your contact gives you further instructions. After completion of all your assignments on board, book passage to remain on the ship and return to Southampton for your next assignment. For a more in-depth
to? At your service. Take my lift to D-Deck. The first-class reception's around the foot of the grand stairs. I fancy it's pretty quiet. Now where to? Mind the gate. Up a bit late, aren't you? Just like Mr. Conklin. He's a night owl. Just a little way.
May I be of assistance? Miss Pringle may have an idea. She is quite a... Very good. We of the White Star Line hope that you'll stay on board. Good night.
Hello. In need of psychic consultation? Good night.
What now? This area's off limits. No passengers allowed. Drink? I don't. And don't care for those who do. Excuse me, would you? I must return to my watch. Good night. Sorry, no passengers on the bridge. Didn't you hear me? No passengers. That means you. Yes, yes. This is the officers' promenade. Good night.
You came after all this time. It's Georgia. I'd heard you on board. Where have you been? It's been 5 years. I'd have waited a lot longer to see you again. Why didn't you tell me where you'd gone? Dina hadn't a clue, nor did Jack. My letters were returned. Just like you to show up now, with everything such a beastly mess. You must help me. You've no doubt heard the rumors. I won't deny most of them. I can't. Even if the money's gone, I won't give the diamonds to Charles. These are all that remains. My insurance for a new life without Charles or Sasha. My husband. You hadn't heard of my marriage to Lord Lambeth? You told me once I cared only for a title. Well, I've got that now, and it's not worth a penny. The money's almost gone. Charles' bad investment. This is all that remains. And I must keep it away from... Please. I mustn't talk any longer. Keep it for me. And don't tell Charles you have it. You can't know what he's like.
Come here. Don't you love this sea air? Really clears out the sinuses. Max Seidelman, Philadelphia, PA. Buyer for Haymaker's Department Store. The Sharpie of Spruce Street, they call me. You a sporting type? You look like the sporting type. Come on down to the smoking room for a nightcap. Riviera's looking for someone to play a few hands of blackjack with. What do you say? Not much else to do. Not tonight. Brrr. Cold as a cast iron commode. So, what do you say? Great. First, let's swing by the Parisian Cafe. There's a man there named Zeidel, a German. Claims he's a business, but he's got something up the sleeve, all right. I know the type, believe me. Dollars to donuts, he's in some racket. So come with, why don't you? We'll hit the smoking room from there. Hey, Colonel, how you doing? Willie? Like you to meet
A pleasure. Heidelitz and I, we welcome diversion during such an uneventful passage, don't we, Willie?
Certainly.
Willie is at the University of Vienna, dissecting children's fable.
Cultural mythology, it's quite interesting. So only a junior professor, I tried to interest Dr. Freud. He's a genius, and I...
Yes, I am sure, quite. On the passenger list it says you embarked at Cherbourg, yet I have not seen you with the others. You were there, were you not? I see. You are British. Not so many of you in Titanic's first cabins. These days most of the rich are Americans. Businessmen like Max. Tell me, why do you go to New York? Business. How interesting, considering the British are not so good at it. Me? Inspecting our embassies. Imperial Germany desires to make a good impression in North America. Willie is continuing on, to the west, to conduct research on Aboriginal custom.
The Indians, they are fascinating.
Yes. However, I place faith in science, not superstition.
The Colonel was saying this wireless stuff's revolutionizing sending messages to each other. It's the end of books and newspapers.
Like the Titanic, a technological triumph. Here we dined in comfort while racing along at 20 knots. It's still tied to the outside world by the wireless.
That reminds me, Colonel Seidel, when I go to send you a telegram, they told me it was to be delayed. There are too many messages. The passengers...
I am sure our guests do not care to hear a detailed discussion of your encounter with telegraphy. Now, if you will excuse me...
Please, excuse us.
Won't you call on us tomorrow? Here, in the cafe. The Linzer Tort's quite passable for a British ship. Stop by. Willie and I welcome it most heartily.
Yes, most heartily.
And before I leave, you must allow me to give you some advice. But do not wander the ship. It is not good, I think, on a ship as big as the Titanic. Good night, friends.
Good night.
See? What did I tell you? What did I say? Them too. Up to something, I'd say. The brainy kid gives me the creeps. What a grind. He should hang out with that little blonde. She's a looker, I tell you. Come on, let's hit the smoking room. I'll introduce you to Riviera. What do you say? Great. Go on up. I gotta see a man about a horse. I'll meet you in a few... Goodbye.